Okay, so this one bottle of resin that came with our Black Cat teacup set actually was able to make a whole nother set of cups, and there's still a little bit left in here, so I'm gonna put that to the side. I also made these handles, but they definitely do not work. They are very, I mean, in a pinch they could work. In a pinch you could use the UV resin to attach it and it could kind of work, and technically you can trim this down with an X-Acto knife or a craft knife and kind of trim it down a bit or sand it, but I don't really like how that looks. I want it to kind of be more of this, see how this is more like a slender, a little bit thin kind of thing. It's supposed to be kind of like a cattail coming out, and like, so it's like that's the cattail and it kind of curls up here. So I kind of like that idea of the cattail. So what I'm going to use is some air dry clay, which is why I have my tile here. Oh, punch out a little bit of air dry clay. This tile is my polymer clay tile. You can see it's got a bunch of gunk on it. That's because I use it for polymer clay crafts. Because the tile can go in the oven, so I can make my polymer clay craft right on the tile and then pop it into the oven. That's less chance of it getting messed up. So since we're just making simple handles for here, we're going to roll our air dry clay into a snake, and I'm using this as comparison, so it's pretty thin, so roll it into like a pretty thin snake. Okay, not bad, not bad. Probably don't need both of these. This probably will do for both sets. Okay. Now, just going to use this to cut it right there. Alright. The mold has the two little kind of dents. I don't know if that's showing up on the camera. It looks kind of blurry from here. That is for the handle to attach to. Whoa. So I'm going to actually kind of just stick this into those to kind of fill that in. And then we're going to use our sculpting tools to kind of craft it in. And depending on how it dries, because sometimes the air dry clay shrinks as it dries. Unlike polymer clay sometimes can shrink too after it cures in the oven. So we're going to let this dry completely, and depending on how much it's shrunk or what's going on, we'll use the remainder of our UV resin here to kind of cover it up, to not only seal it, but to also secure it. This clay is a bit more it's softer than what I'm used to. Polymer clay is, you know what, maybe I should just do polymer clay. You can't even see what I'm doing here. Okay, this is not working. You know what I think might work better? Alright, I am not a fan of how that was going. I'm gonna use this. Okay. So using a wire, so this one's going to be too short. It needs to be a little longer. Okay. So this is jewelry wire. 22 gauge bright silver jewelry wire. I use it for making crafts and stuff and for charms. And then these are needle nose pliers, but they're specific to jewelry. And so I'm curling it a little bit at the base here. Let's check. Alright, so the little hole into the hole. Yeah, alright, perfect. Alright, so these are our shapes here for our things. Now what I can do is, now that I have our handle base, this is what's going to stick into there. We're going to use our, I'm going to use the air dry clay. Move you out of the way. To go over this wire. That is our wire that we're going to use. Now the other option is I could just use the UV resin and attach it and let that be that. And then paint it. Alright, let's get it nice and thin, a little thin snake. Cut that. And this will be easy, I said. So simple, I said. No problem. Alright, I'm gonna roll this around my tool here. This is not working. Okay, so the air dry clay is way too soft to use for this, for what I'm trying to do. So if I'm going to coat this, it has to be polymer clay. I'm not going to waste this. I'm going to roll this out using this as our guide. Okay, nice, very good, like that. Okay. Alright, there we go. Now we're going to cut this off here. Not taking my tools seriously. Okay, so this is the size we need. Okay, there we go. So that's one tail. I'm just using our metal wires as a guide to kind of help get the size and the shape down. Alright, cool. It's definitely not perfect. I'm going to make an extra one because I have extra clay here. Okay, well there you go. So I'm trying to make it kind of like a little comma. Where it's a little bit fatter at the top. So we're going to let these just kind of air dry for a day or two, come back and check it out. I'm actually going to check it out in a few hours and see how it's doing. The alternative option is, like I said, is to use the wire and just stick it on there with the UV resin and paint it. Either way, we're going to probably have to paint these because I don't really know about the purple here. I'm going to paint it black. Or put the UV resin over it to make it black. This would be much more efficient with polymer clay. This air dry clay is very soft and it's a little bit too, it's not as moldable as I'm used to. Polymer clay is much more resistant and it's sturdy and it takes more of an effort to kind of mold it. And it holds whatever you're doing to it a lot better. This feels a little bit more plastic, like a little bit. This isn't as resistant, so it's not holding it as much. But we'll give this a go and see how it turns out. Alright, so here we are. I was able to make 2 more cats out of this UV resin, and I tried making some air dry clay. Looks like a little like apostrophe or a comma. And to attach to the side here. And technically that can definitely work. Let's see, let's use this thing. It can work, this would work. It would just be, let's see if I can get closer so you can see. There we go. Okay, so there's little holes right here and here. So this was where it would attach. And I would use the UV resin to kind of secure it in this spot here. So it's not impossible, especially if I painted it black after I was done, to match, but I'm not loving this. I feel like it's not very secure. The air dry clay itself is very lightweight, very soft. I feel like it's not, I don't feel like it's sturdy enough. And I could technically stick this wire through there, but I also don't feel very safe with that either. So what I'm going to do, with the permission of my kiddo, is use a pipe cleaner. So we're doing a remix for real. We're going to do a pipe cleaner. So I'm just going to stick this here and kind of line it up with the other hole. And then I'm going to bend that. So we're going to cut it here. You can use real regular scissors with these pipe cleaners. You don't need to use these scissors. So let's see. In here, we'll shape it a bit. So I'm just using some pliers. These are round pliers to kind of make sure I give it the shape that I want. So I think that looks really cute. It's like a fuzzy cattail. So we're going to do that one. And then we're going to do one more. Alright, so now we can use our resin again to attach it, or super glue, like some kind of sturdy super glue. I am going to keep the pliers nearby. Yes. Here we go. Okay, so we're going to dip it in here on both ends a little bit. And stick it here. So it doesn't get exposed to the light. Okay, this is... If I had one of those little handheld UV lights, that would be good for this. Oh my god, it's actually freaking adorable. Holy crap, how cute is that? Oh my gosh. Alright, so we're going to go in with the... What am I doing? I don't have to do all this. We have paintbrushes, Cynthia. Just put it on. Okay. Okay. Okay, wow. Look at that. cute is that? It's got a fuzzy cattail for the handle. Oh my god, I think I'm in love with these. So the good news is that there's still more black UV resin in this container even after making four whole cat cups and a whole bunch of extra stuff, like in some extra little accents, accessory stuff. So there's still more black UV resin. So I'm really impressed with how much resin came in these containers. That's super impressive. So once these cat cups are done, we're going to add these cute little eyes just like we did for these ones, and then I'll do some photos and show you the final remix project. Oh my god, you guys, I forgot to record. They turned out really, really cute. I'm actually just putting the extra stickers on, the little mischievous cats. So hold on, let me peel this off for the final. You're just in time for the final reveal. I was not recording. How cute! So, instead of trying to do polymer clay or other clay, which you could still do, absolutely, I did a pipe cleaner, which I think is really fun because it's fuzzy like a cat tail. And I've had extra cat stickers because the set comes with 4. And now we have 2 cute little matching fuzzy cat tail. And comparing to the ones that came with the set. Oh. He was eating the sweet. That was so funny. So here's the ones that it came with. It has like the little plastic. This is a plastic handle. And compared to the fuzzy pipe cleaner handle. Original remix. It's cute, right? I think so. I think it's really cute. I'm glad that I did the big moon eyes for the original. I feel like that looks really good. And I'm glad that the mischievous ones are my remix because those are kind of naughty. I think it works. So there you have it. But I think for the cats, this pipe cleaner like is adorable. I think it's really adorable. I think it looks like a fluffy cat tail. I think it works as a, you know, this would be called, I think they call them remix, where you kind of make something new with it. My next plan is to, invert this, I'm going to try to make tea with some UV resin inside of here that we can remove and put in the teacups. I don't know that it's going to be the exact right size, but we're going to try it real quick. Since I'm already out, I've already got my resin. Let's go put my gloves back on. Alright, so I'm filling this up with clear UV resin. This is the inside, so I'm hoping that it's about the same size as the inside of the cups because it's the same mold. And if it is the same size, then we might be able to put different liquids in here. Now, you can make different colors, you can add different things. You can add the lime or lemon slices if you have other Make It Minis. You can even add these little meringues. Okay, that's so tiny. Or a cookie and kind of make it fancy, but we're just going to go with simple. This is a mica powder. It's kind of a brownish color mica powder. I'm just going to see, it's like a brownish mica powder. I'm going to add a very small amount of that. It's kind of, there we go. Very small little scoop of that. We don't need it to be too big. And then we're going to use our stirrer here. Keep that in case we need more. And I'm going to stir it up. I think that's pretty good. Tap it, try to get the air bubbles out. This is so weird. We made it one way for one thing, now we're flipping it upside down and seeing if we can make something else. Okay. Alright, now I'm going to pop it under the UV lamp. I can see I mix the colors in a little bit, try to get it kind of like a brownish tea color. It'll be a little bit shimmery because of the mica powders have kind of like a glitter in them. And it should have kind of layers to it. I'm actually going to spin this around to give it a different... There we go, that's fun. I really think this is actually looking more like a coffee color, but I think once it's cured it might look different. So let's get this under the light and see what happens. Okay, so I went ahead and to continue our experiments, we flipped the mold. For making the teacups, you fill it in this way with the resin, and then you put it in the UV light, whether that's a lamp or the sun. So we flipped it over and I filled the inside here. This one has clear with some glitter, some stars, and this one is clear with mica powder mixed in. So let's bring that in a little closer. So you can see I filled it in from the other side, and we're going to take these out and see what it looks like. Oh. Alright, so that popped right out. That was a very clean release. Oh my gosh, it looks like it's spilling. You see that? Because of the way that the there was like resin on the sides. Oh, this one's really really looks like it's spilling. That's so funny. Alright, so we've got a lot of kind of like resin that was on the sides. So that's easy to peel off and trim. But it does look like a really cool, actually. Like if you filled that all the way in, that would be pretty cool. I was just trying to test it out. So I'm going to actually try to break some of this off. I'm going to trim this with scissors. You can use a craft knife as well. So I'm not sponsored by anyone. This is all me just messing around with my own money, my own time. I'm not even monetized on YouTube at the moment, so I'm getting nothing to do these videos. This is just everyday person doing everyday fun things that I enjoy. Alright, so we trim that down. I trimmed it down, and you can also take a file and file it on the top to get it a little bit more. That's fine. I'm going to do the same to this because I don't actually want it to look like it's spilling. I'm not trying to do a Frozen moment here. Not trying to do an action. So we're going to trim this down. Hopefully I'm recording this time. Okay. So this is what came out of the inside. This kind of almost looks like Coca-Cola. So that's what's inside of there. So we're gonna actually, the whole point is to see. Okay, so it is a little bit too small for the inside. See that? That's what I was hoping to. Kind of hoping to make some tea. So, but I don't know, does it look like it's got some, like, look a little bit from the photo, like maybe from the angle, especially with it being in the black cup, it's probably not as noticeable. It looks a little bit like it's got something in it. Let's go with the, so you can tell for sure in this clear cup how there's a lot of space in there. So it's not the same as making it, it's the right shape but not the size. So I'm glad I didn't do too much, but this is actually a fun shape. It looks like a bowl. It looks pretty good in the black. Let's try it in the white now so you can see it better. Okay, so see how there's a gap around the edge? Now, however, if I were just doing a still photo, where I just needed it to kind of look like it has tea in there or coffee, it's actually not that bad. What do you think? Does that work? From a distance? So for our hacks today, we found that you can make 4 teacups and some extra fun stuff with the resin. And if you turn your mold upside down, you can make little bowls. You can make some fun sized bowls. Or if you're creative enough with your photography, especially with the darker colored thing, you can make it look like it's got coffee or tea inside. And let me actually get the smaller sized thing, because I think that big one, there we go. So our little remix. It's cute. I love it. I think that turned out really adorable. I think that's a great hack. I think that's fun to try different things. It might be cute to do. This looks like a bowl, like especially because it's kind of frosted on the outside. So it does have like a very cool. I feel like you could definitely do something with that. I'm not sure what right now in my brain space, but I feel like it definitely has something going on. These are doll sized. Zoom out a little. These are doll sized for the smaller BJDs. And if you're playing like house, or you have a toy set with your YoSDs or Tinies and your SDs, these are a good size for like a play set size for your bigger BJDs. But for these blind box kind of smaller, I think these are 1/8 size. They might be 1/12 size. I'm not, don't quote me on that. I need to brush up on my BJD sizes. I've been basically inactive for years, so I'm a little out of the loop with my ball jointed doll language, and I apologize. But yeah, it's a mess. I'm gonna clean that up and get something else going on here for next video. But all in all, I think that was a fun ride. I'm really happy with the remix that I did and how the regular cats turned out. They're very cute. So now we've got a full party. I've got a whole cat party here. I've got all the cat tea sets. And I've got the Calico Cat teapot, which I don't have in here right now. That's in my other room. But I think that's wonderful. So thanks so much for joining me and checking out my random attempts at something different. I will take closer, better pictures so you can get a better angle of these, especially these remixes, because I think it just really looks cute if you could see it better. And I might try to fluff up the cattails a little bit more. But I love this. So thanks so much for watching. Look forward to something new next video. Bye!